The guy who basically invented Harry Potter on screen just took one look at the HBO Harry Potter reboot and said, Avada Kedavra! Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. Well, folks, it finally happened. The guy who literally invented cinematic Hogwarts just took one look at the HBO reboot of Harry Potter and literally said what we've all been saying since the very beginning. Ha! Gay! What's the point? Chris Columbus, the director of the first two Harry Potters, you know, the ones that actually felt magical, took one look at Nick Frost as Hagrid and went, wait a second, that's literally the exact same costume I designed 20 years ago.
There's nothing sacred.
Oh, wait a minute. Warner Brothers is spending hundreds of millions of dollars to copy and paste Columbus's work, and he's noticed. Bravo, guys. Creativity at its finest. Oh, and here's the kicker. Columbus isn't mad about it. He's actually flattered. He's like, wow, you ripped off my costume designs exactly. Thanks for the free nostalgia trip. But imagine building the houses of Hogwarts and then watching Warner Brothers tear it down just to rebuild it with asbestos. Oh, and that's just the start of the problems with this show. This reboot has been controversial from the jump. Casting decisions have sparked outrage before they even finished auditions, not to mention progressive activists demanded changes, and conservatives just rolled their eyes while middle-of-the-road fans said, wait, why are we even doing this?
I don't care.
But hey, stick around, because the Chris Columbus mic drop is only half of it. The other half is how Warner Brothers has managed to alienate literally every possible audience before the first episode of this show even airs. Find out all about it today on Tooney Town TV. All right, guys, coming to us from thatparkplace.com, original Harry Potter movie director Chris Columbus blasts the HBO reboot, asking, what's the point? That's what we've all been asking. We've been asking it since this project was announced. Originally, the point was stated that it was going to be, they were going to have more time to tell the story. They were going to have more time to breathe, a little more elbow room. They were able to get into more depth. They were able to be more accurate to the books. And then they did casting choices that proved that they don't care at all about accuracy to the book. So let's get into the skinny of it. The original Harry Potter director, Chris Columbus, not the sailor that Native Americans hate, but the director, is speaking out about HBO's big budget reboot, and his words are raising eyebrows across the fandom. Chris Columbus, the filmmaker who launched the Wizarding franchise with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, and I believe also served as a producer on Prisoner of Azkaban, is openly questioning why Warner Brothers is treading old ground. Now, after seeing leaked set photos of Nick Frost as Hagrid in the upcoming series, Columbus bluntly asked, what's the point? And then you see Nick Frost as Hagrid. You can see him up here a little bit better, a little bit more. I mean, he looks exactly like Robbie Coltrane. And I guess you could say because Robbie Coltrane looked like Hagrid, and they wanted him to look like Hagrid. So same thing with Harry over here. Like, looks like Harry Potter. Like, that's what they look like. I don't blame them for kind of copying the costumes, but I still have a what's the point mentality about this. And we're going to get into more about what might also be the same as we go along here. But the comment strikes at the heart of a debate that has dogged the project from day one. Whether fans really need a retelling of J.K. Rowling's novels just 20 years after the original films became a worldwide phenomenon. 20 plus years, but you get the picture. So Chris Columbus reacted to the Harry Potter reboot after spotting images of Frost and what he immediately recognized as the same Hagrid costume he and his team designed for Robbie Coltrane in 2001. So he said, part of me was like, what's the point? I thought everything was going to be different, but it's more the same. It's very flattering for me because I'm like, that's exactly the Hagrid costume that we designed. So part of it is really exciting, but part of it is sort of like deja vu all over again. So basically he's saying,
it stinks.
Why are you bothering to do this? Like, you're just redoing everything else. You're just telling the same story over again in the exact same way. So why bother? It's going to visually be very much the same, which I kind of understand the reasoning behind trying to make it visually the same. The visuals are iconic. And I guess you want it to feel familiar while also feeling different at the same time. But it's just a carbon copy. I mean, so Columbus also made it clear he has no plans to return in any professional capacity. He says, no, I've done it. You saw my version. There's nothing left for me to do in the world of Potter. That is remarkable restraint from someone involved in Hollywood. Because Hollywood, I mean, the whole reason why these reboots are even happening in the first place is because the Fantastic Beasts stumbled out the gate so hard and fell on its face so badly that they had to reboot the whole thing because they can't just let an IP as valuable as Harry Potter just sit.
They
Which, I mean, like, you could have done other things. You could have told the Marauders story. I mean, look, there's a lot to be desired in the movies. The movies don't even tell you who the Marauders are. The movies never explain the Deathly Hallows correctly. You never know that Harry's cloak is a Hallow. Like, they're like, the house elf stuff doesn't really happen. Dobby's role is significantly cut back, so when he dies, it's not as powerful. There's a whole lot of nonsense that goes on in those movies, but we skipped like 90% of the Voldemort flashbacks in Half-Blood Prince so that we can get Wan and Lavender Brown for half the movie. It's really dumb decisions were made in how to tell this story. So, of course, Columbus has been protective of his legacy, with the franchise pointing in past interviews that the first 3 films captured lightning in a bottle, and they did. They really did. So, to be fair, he's not dismissing these reboots outright. He's acknowledging that the series format allows for greater fidelity to Rowling's books, with subplots like, of course, Peeves, the poltergeist, and then, of course, the potions sequence from Philosopher's Stone, where Harry and Hermione have to put together the potions in order to get through to the stone. It's a Snape's test at the end. So, still, his "what's the point" remark lingers as a critique of Warner Brothers' larger creative strategy. If a reboot looks identical to what's already been done, fans will naturally ask why hundreds of millions of dollars are being poured into retreading the same visuals and costumes. So, is it nostalgia or just corporate repetition? Warner Brothers has banked heavily on its Harry Potter reboot, with the Fantastic Beasts spin-off trilogy flopping, and executives turned back to the source material as a safe option. But Columbus's candid statement exposes the risk. Nostalgia can quickly curdle into fatigue if there's no fresh perspective. And that's where there has to be a fresh perspective. And Papa Aceto as Snape is not the way to do that. For those of you that don't know what I am talking about, I will explain. The role of Severus Snape has officially been race swapped from the late, great Alan Rickman, who actually looks like Snape is supposed to look, to Papa Aceto, who does not look like Severus Snape. There you see him right there. I believe I have another picture of him down here. Yep, there he is right there. So, this faithful adaptation breaks canon. They promise to dive deeper into the story in ways film cannot. However, casting an actor who starkly deviates from the character's canonical description completely undermines that claim. This isn't about talent. Papa Aceto is an accomplished performer, but about altering Snape on a fundamental identity level to appease a particular audience rather than respecting the source material. And that's important because Snape, you could have made any character black in this show, with the exception of like the Weasleys, and I think it would have been okay.
This is a lie.
Like, and that's not me saying I'm all for race swaps. Yeah, let's race swap everyone. No, I'm just saying it doesn't break the story. Like, if you made McGonagall Black-Onagall, that would in no way impact her character or the story. Snape being black affects everything about this, because James Potter and the Marauders bully him throughout Hogwarts, and they're bullying the one black kid. And then there's a line in the books where Lily asks James like what his problem with Snape is, and he just says, well, it's not so much anything he's done, it's just that he exists, if you know what I mean. I mean, it becomes a pretty horrific statement here, where you basically turn the Marauders into racists, which I don't think anybody wants. You've also got the fact that like the one black teacher on the dais, and every single book, whenever something goes wrong, Harry's like, I bet you it's Snape. I bet you Snape's up to no good. There's just something about that Snape that I think he's doing something wrong. I think he's committing crimes, Ron. That doesn't really work either. And so for those of you that are like, oh, well, no, like the book doesn't say anything, it absolutely does. Look, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Snape's pale face, illuminated by the flaming cabin, was suffused with hatred, just as it has been before he had cursed Dumbledore. You dare use my own spells against me, Potter? It was I who invented them. I, the Half-Blood Prince. Again now, like, good Lord. It is, he is so vividly outlined. She also calls him Sallow. In other instances, there are drawings of him that she herself made. I don't understand how you make this call. And the rest of the other casting has been pretty great. It's been pretty spot on. This is just the one character that you couldn't race swap is the one that you race swapped. And I don't understand the reasoning behind it. And of course, he also spoke out against J.K. Rowling on gender issues. And of course, she, was classy about it and said that she's not going to bother, like she's not going to try to get him fired or anything like that, which good on her. Now, the thing with J.K. Rowling is she speaks out for women. She speaks out for women's safety. She speaks out for women's only spaces, and that angers. I'm going to try to be very delicate here. It angers a very of our collective. Yeah, well, she pisses off trans people. Period. End. Because she advocates for women, and she advocates for women's only spaces, and she doesn't want people who are not biological women coming into women's spaces, because J.K. Rowling is a survivor of abuse. She is a survivor of domestic abuse, and she's speaking from a victim place.
I can't tell you how free I feel now that I've started identifying as a woman.
Now, it should also be noted that there's a reason why the right hasn't embraced her and held her up. She is 100% a leftist. She's very woke. She agrees with the progressive movements 99.9% of the time. It's just this 0.01% where she disagrees with them, and they vilify her like they vilify nobody else. Pedro Pascal called her a heinous loser. We've seen Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, who owe their careers to this woman, come out against her as well. So, but it is, I highly recommend following her on X and putting the notifications on, because she just dunks on these people all the time. But anyway, Papa Asidu signed she was talking about a legislation that went through the UK Supreme Court on sex-based rights. And so she, was very happy that they went with what she wanted, that they went in her direction. And Papa Isidu was one of 2,000 signatories from the entertainment and academic industries that claim that the court undermines the lived reality and threatens the safety of individuals who identify differently from their birth sex. Which, I mean, come on, guys, nobody's unsafe here. Well, some people are unsafe in these situations, but it's not who they want you to think it is.
I'm not here to talk about my transition.
But anyway, the reason I bring this up is I wanted to just shine a light on the fact that progressives were never going to come to this show. They were never going to support the show. They were never going to watch the show because of this lady right here, because they hate her guts. Now, they threaten to boycott her all the time. And you know what? Maybe they do. We saw what happened with Hogwarts Legacy. They all wanted to boycott Hogwarts Legacy to the point where there was a curated list of streamers who were playing the game so that they could be canceled and ostracized and ridiculed by these people. And guess what? Hogwarts Legacy succeeded into the stratosphere. So I don't understand why you're taking these progressive steps here with this show in order to try to appease these people when nothing is ever going to appease them. There was a trans woman bartender in Hogwarts Legacy, and none of them cared. They all complained about it. They said it was pandering, and guess what? It was! It's the first time ever these people were pandered to, and they were like, hey, that's pandering. I'm like, yeah, you got it this time. Why don't you get it every other time that it happens?
You dullard. You dummy.
So they were never going to support this. And now all you've done is you've just ticked off the other side, the purists who just want to see the book presented as it's supposed to be presented without having racial undertones underneath everything. And now all of a sudden, this show becomes a flashpoint that everyone hates. And by the way, guys, when we're talking about the way things look, now I have heard specifically that Hogwarts Legacy is going to be basically what we're going to be seeing in this show, so which Hogwarts Legacy looks exactly like the movie. Therefore, this is going to look exactly like Hogwarts Legacy, which will look exactly like the movie, because I believe future Hogwarts Legacy installments are going to kind of factor into the show a bit. So we shall see. So by the way, Hogwarts Legacy, great game. I actually, after writing up this script, I really wanted to go play it again, so I actually might start replaying it this week. But anyway, guys, this show is, I think, doomed. I think it's already got way too much controversy around it. Nobody is excited for it. And I feel bad for the kids that are playing the core 3 and for John Lithgow. This is probably be the last major role John Lithgow ever plays in his life. And it's just going to be surrounded by all this nonsense. All right, guys. So what do you think? Are you still excited for the Harry Potter reboot? Do you see the point in it? Sound off in the comments section below and let me know. Alright guys, so let's be real here. This Harry Potter reboot was doomed from the moment it was announced. Now, not because the world doesn't love Hogwarts, but because Warner Brothers doesn't understand its own audience. First they blew it with the casting. Papa Asidu as the new Snape was a laughable decision. Look, nothing against the guy's acting chops, but this was clearly a decision made to placate a handful of progressive activists online. The problem with that is that these activists were never going to support the show ever anyway because J.K. Rowling exists. They've been threatening to boycott her for years, and Harry Potter is somehow still a multi-million, if not billion-dollar franchise. So why are we trying to appeal to them at all?
It's not about money. It's about sending a message.
Warner Brothers gained nothing by doing this, and they lost the very families and casual fans who just wanted the characters that they know and love from the books in a way that reminds them of the books. And then you have the direct involvement of J.K. Rowling, which you should have. She's the author and the creator here. But the left hates her, the right doesn't trust her, and the people in the middle are just tired of all the gender drama. That's 3 strikes before the first Quidditch match even starts. And now you got Chris Columbus, the man who set the visual language for the entire franchise, looking at Nick Frost Hagrid and basically saying, "Congrats, you remade my movies, but worse." Now that's not a glowing endorsement. That's the cinematic equivalent of your dad patting you on the head and saying, "Nice try, champ." This reboot feels like a house built on quicksand. You can't keep everyone happy, but Warner Brothers is making no one happy. The Bugs Bunny house has sometimes managed to tick off both conservatives and moderates while bending over backwards for progressives who were never going to buy a Max subscription in the first place. Now, if you're keeping score, that's not just bad strategy. That's corporate doom. So yeah, maybe Chris Columbus said it best. What's the point? Because right now, this reboot looks like the answer to the question that nobody asked, and the solution to a problem that nobody had. People are gonna take one look at this and Expelliarmus! Thanks for joining us today, and a special thanks goes out to our Tooney Town TV channel members. You guys are the heart and soul of this channel, and for that we thank you with exclusive content like Crime and Punishment, our true crime podcast hosted by myself and Trish, and our members-only live stream on Mondays at 3 p.m. EST. So if you are not a member of the Tooney Town TV channel, join today. Oh, and make sure you're joining us Thursday nights live at 8 p.m. EST for Tooney Talk TV, our live stream pop culture podcast where you can interact with me directly and make your voices heard as a part of the Tooney Town community. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. From all of us here at the Tooney Town channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!